Legends, what's up? It's Darkmech here, and yesterday we got some pretty cool, depending on your viewpoint, news around the new affixes that will be hitting our dungeons in Dragonflight Season 2 for Mythic Plus. Now, WoW Twitter did its usual self. It went outside, it pulled its pants down to its ankles, it bent over, and by all the powers from its anus, it shouted to the clouds, "No!" But I am a little keener just to wait and see with this one before I go out and point my ass to the sky. So the three new affixes that will be coming in and replacing Volcanic, Grievous, and Quaking in Season 2 are Afflicted, Entangling, and Incorporeal. So what do they do? Afflicted whilst you're in combat, an Afflicted soul will appear. Hello! It will seek the aid of players. Afflicted souls will spawn with poison, curse, and disease afflictions. Removing any of these afflictions, or, this is important, or restoring the spirit to full health will cause it to despawn. Failure to remove their affliction in time will inflict players with a negative status effect. So my first reaction when I read this was, oof, another thing for healers to have to deal with.
Why do I have to do everything?
You know, is it going to be more dispel, decurse heavy focused issues for group compositions? How is this going to play out? And pending on tuning and things like that, we'll have to wait and see. It appears an afflicted soul will periodically spawn with that disease, curse, and poison debuff and start a cast. You then have to either heal the afflicted soul to full to stop the cast, or remove that poison, curse, or disease to get rid of it. If they don't have a crazy amount of health, your healer will likely be able to deal with this fairly easily. If you have to decurse or dispel them, that's a way to negate the extra healing possible as well, but that feeds into group composition as well. If you fail it at the moment, it will reduce the haste of all players in the party by 100%, but no damage will go out. So it's a pretty hefty penalty if you fail to cleanse or heal it to full before the cast goes off. So Entangling is the second affix coming in. Entangling whilst in combat, entangling vines will snare players. Now, lots of people lost their minds to this, thinking that they would be rooted in place without reading the snare component of this.
Reading. Nerd.
So players will get attached to a vine that snares them. It slows them by 50% and it forces them to run 10 yards to snap the vine. If you don't snap your vine, you will be stunned in place for 3 seconds. It is at the moment. We'll see what that is once it goes live. Now, this obviously raises stock for classes like Paladins with Blessing of Freedom, DKs with Death's Advance will do really well here, and if Druids can easily shapeshift it, it's basically a no affix for them as well. Now, pending how this works, it could be extremely toxic in a lot of situations. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but this is probably my least favorite of the new three affixes so far.
It's too toxic.
The last one is Incorporeal. So whilst in combat, incorporeal beings will appear. And they will attempt to destabilize players with spells that reduce their damage and healing done. Incorporeal beings are susceptible to forms of crowd control though. So this doesn't seem too horrid. It kind of reminds me of the bats in Season 4, or even just the bat at the end of Quarter Stars you've been dealing with a lot lately, where you just have to chain CC on them so the cast doesn't go off. It's an extra ad that'll spawn. It's got a 20-second duration attached to it, and at the moment it looks like the idea isn't to kill it, it is to favor those CC chains. So it has a buff on it called Incorporeal, which is damage taken is reduced by 99%, and it's immune to area of effect attacks. It'll fade away on expiration after the 20-second buff duration. So damage and healing done reduced by 50% on an 8-second cast. So you'll be using your CC to make sure that doesn't go off until the 20 seconds is up and it goes away. So they're the three new affixes. So I'm keen to hear what you guys think out there. You know, Twitter, as I said, erupted as it usually does, and then it kind of simmers down. For me, I don't think players will have a horrible time adjusting to Incorporeal. I just don't really like it. I think it lacks imagination, if I'm honest, without trying to hate. I think Entangling will be interesting. It has the ability to be extremely annoying though, and I'm a bit worried about that with potential dungeon overlaps. It could mean classes that are able to deal with this, again, really shine over others that don't have an answer to it. And Afflicted, I don't think it will be as bad as people are thinking either. I do worry about healer overload, especially coming out of Dragonflight Season 1 where it has been so intense towards healers. I don't want to, again, load people playing that role up with even more things to face and conquer through a dungeon. Personally here, I would really love to see Blizzard focus more on risk reward versus punishment affixes. I know, that affixes are designed to challenge the dungeon. They're due to elevate it to a different level, to make it more challenging, to change your playstyle and your thought process through that dungeon. But we've got into this really negative spin where affixes have to be punishing versus, risk reward elements to them, or making some of them positive even. I'd love to see the aspects or dragon people tied into affixes throughout this one, kind of like we had in Tormented mobs in Season 2 of Shadowlands, where there would be 4 mobs positioned through a dungeon. You would kill them, and then you would get a choice of powers from them. Like aspects could have needed rescuing throughout the dungeons. You'd do a pull, you'd free them, they give you a choice of abilities, and there could be a risk reward factor to those abilities that you selected, kind of like corruption had in BFA, where if you went too far, you had the consequences that came with that. But I would really love to see some of that style of fix coming through the dungeons to make them really fun and interactive versus just being punishing all the time. So that's my take anyway. Very keen to hear what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for checking out the video. I'll see you all next time. See you, fam. If you really want to help me out and support the channel, please consider pledging to our Patreon. Tier 3 and above will see you getting your name at the end of every single video we create, as well as some hidden perks in the Discord. Thanks so much.